Aljamain Sterling might be the saltiest fighter in the UFC today.
Like, we fought 9 out of 10 times. He probably beats me 1 or 2 out of 10.
Whether it was getting overlooked early in his career, winning the belt by disqualification, or now not getting the recognition he thinks he deserves, Aljo has always had a chip on his shoulder. He's still complaining about his loss to O'Malley, despite it being 2 years ago.
And I get clipped with a right hand for me to circle for 20 seconds. And then you to yell at me and tell me you need to engage in and stop the fight. It's like, I'm warning you. It's like, well, what do you expect me to do?
But in recent years, it's gotten a lot worse. He's now moaning about fighter pay, has this weird self-entitlement that he deserved a featherweight title shot over everyone else, and is coming up with excuses for every loss.
If I was on point the way I was with any other fight, that guy was getting squished.
So this is why Aljamain Sterling is the most salty fighter in the UFC. At 145 pounds, there's a real jam for who's next. Behind Volkanovski, a whole host of fighters could make their case for a title shot. Movsar's who's undefeated and has beaten both Diego Lopez and Aljo, but has been inactive. Former title challenger Diego Lopez for taking out Gian Silva. Then there's the undefeated Lerone Murphy and his spectacular knockout of Aaron Pico. But despite all these contenders, Aljamain Sterling is adamant he's next.
I don't want it to sound like I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. I just really think I've done enough in this sport. You can talk about the DQ win. Okay, yes, that was the first time that's ever happened in history. I redeemed myself 3 times over. I go up a weight class. I'm now in the top 5 again. I just don't think these things could be ignored and
No, it's impressive.
I think I have a very solid argument of why I should be the next guy in line.
He thinks his legacy at bantamweight is enough to jump the queue, because when you look at his 145-pound record, it's hard to justify why Aljo should be next. He beat Calvin Kattar by decision, lost to Movsar, then beat Brian Ortega by decision, who just admitted he passed out during his weight cut. It's not really a run that set the world alight. Yet despite this, he's on Twitter dismissing all the other contenders as if they've done nothing in the sport.
But I also understand why Volkanovski would probably rather fight me over one of these guys who are still kind of building their name, you know? I think it's a better accolade fight for him versus fighting someone who's just an undefeated prospect.
And this isn't to discredit Aljo. He's quite literally one of the most accomplished bantamweights of all time. But whether it's the fans, the UFC itself, or the media, it's always felt like there's animosity in the air when it comes to Sterling. And this situation goes much deeper than just his quest for the featherweight title. Earlier on in his UFC career, Aljamain Sterling, for many reasons, was overlooked and disrespected by fans of the sport. A big part of it was down to his grappling-heavy style, relying on his incredible chain wrestling and athleticism to get wins. During an era where 135ers like TJ Dillashaw, Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt, and Uriah Faber were stealing the headlines, Aljo just wasn't part of that elite group of guys. It just felt like no matter what, UFC fans were either booing Sterling or, what's arguably even worse, just felt indifferent. A big part of it may have been that most UFC fans deemed his skills on the mic as corny.
Do you think in the UFC they play favorites?
Oh, 100%. It's a business.
Yeah.
Entertainment business, so I get that side of it.
And do you think they want certain people to be the champions?
Oh, 100%. I want to grow my hair out a little bit more and then like dye it a bunch of different colors, put some tattoos on my eyebrows.
He rose in the UFC in a time where being charismatic, quick-witted on the mic, and marketing yourself was more important than ever. But when he did finally reach the pinnacle of the sport, it wasn't that fairy tale moment every fighter dreams of. Instead, it was actually a nightmare of sorts. When every UFC fighter laces up a pair of gloves, they envision the perfect title win. Like Michael Bisping, at the tail end of his career, on short notice getting the knockout over an opponent he'd already lost to. But no fighter ever considers the fact that they may win the belt controversially, and Aljamain Sterling might have the most contentious title win in UFC history. He was arguably losing the fight, but thanks to an illegal knee from Peter Yan, was crowned the undisputed champion of the world. And when the prestigious UFC title was wrapped around his waist, boos rang out around the arena at a confused and likely concussed Sterling, who was just trying to make sense of it all. And in the heat of the moment, you saw his true emotions.
That's not the way I wanted to win. That's not the way I envisioned this. And I just took butt off, man. I was trying to continue even being all up like that, but I was in bad shape.
UFC fans mock Anthony Smith for not taking the DQ win, the title, and a boatload of money to rematch John Jones after the exact same scenario. Yet when Sterling does exactly that, they try to discredit him, call him a coward, and dislike him because of it. And just remember, none of it is his fault.
We only have a couple of rules in this sport. Don't poke his eyes, don't bite the son of a bitch, and don't kick him when he's down. We only have a few rules. One was violated. Egregiously violated. The referee now has to remedy that. And the remedy, which is extremely clear in the state of Nevada where the contest took place, is if the athlete cannot continue who was fouled, he wins because this guy got disqualified.
While most fans know it's an incredibly difficult situation, the aftermath and Aljo's reaction is critical in deciding how the world views him, and unfortunately, he played it entirely wrong. Being humble would have 100% been the wisest move. Admit it was a tough fight, say you don't feel like the true champion, and that you'll have to rematch Jan to truly decide. If he did that, the UFC fans would have definitely cut you some slack. But instead, Sterling went the other way, proclaiming himself the true champion, parading the belt around and trying to get a so-called money fight with Henry Cejudo.
But to go out there and now start angling for what you say is the money fight, when, by the way, what was Aljo saying when he was being jobbed by the UFC and company, when they weren't giving him the title shot, when they were waiting for Marlon Moraes? What was he saying? He was said, when I win the title, I'm going to bring some normalcy to this. I'm going to restore order to this weight class. I'm going to do things the right way. I'm going to defend the title against the right people. And now you just had this situation and you're going to Cejudo? Really?
Perhaps he tried to go the Colby Covington route, become the heel, and get the MMA world so desperate to see you lose, they all buy the pay-per-view.
Like, what was it that prompted both y'all to play this villain role, though? And, like, really lean into it?
I don't know if I play it. I feel like I'm, like, half in, half out.
Nah, you play it.
Because sometimes I play up into it and I lean into it a little bit, and sometimes I'm like, yo, Dad, I just want to chill and just be me.
But it was a disastrous decision, because in the lead-up to the rematch with Peter Yan, he was booed like very few fighters have been. Bear in mind, Sterling is an American fighter taking on a Russian opponent on American soil, and this is the reaction.
This question is for Aljo. You brought the props, you brought the Jaguars helmet, you got the MMA rule book there.
It clearly bugged him. After all, Aljamain is a friendly, kind guy. He's not the type where riling up the crowd, talking trash, and being controversial comes naturally to him.
I just have fun with it. Like, it doesn't bother me. Clearly, 13 months of people trash talking me and me going back and forth with them shows that I'm a different mentality when it comes to the mental, you know? So that's the way I look at it. Some people might look at it like, oh, you're too involved in that. I'm like, listen, just because this controls your life, don't think that it does the same for me. Like, I literally say what I say, and then I'm out.
Sadly, his response to initially winning the title put him in this spot. Yet he's confused and annoyed at the reaction he receives.
Can't wait to go out there, perform, and finally right this wrong. Put the boogeyman to rest and shut everybody up. Remind the world who the Funkmaster is, baby. Let's go!
But while his reign as champion was very successful in comparison to other bantamweights, you can still pick it apart if you're being critical. A split decision over Peter Yan, finishing a one-arm TJ Dillashaw who had no business fighting, and a split decision win over Henry Cejudo.
First and foremost comes down to the way he won the title, right? Like, it's hard to get that illegal knee by Piotr Jan out of your mind, and just the whole way that whole thing unfolded, I think left a bad taste in people's mouth for a very long time. And then of course they do the rematch and he wins a split decision that some people feel he lost. And then the TJ Dillashaw fight, he goes in there badly compromised, and then now he gets another split decision. So it hasn't exactly been the cleanest title reign.
Even though the judge's decisions or TJ being injured is all out of Aljamain's control, it doesn't help his case in getting fans to give him the recognition he feels he deserved.
There's certain things that Aljo would just like to get credit for, and he's right to do that. I have never seen a more disrespected world champion. And this isn't new. You guys got your nuts in a ringer over Aljo the night that he won the world championship by disqualification. And it wasn't just you, the viewer, the pundits did it to him as well.
But then things became much more controversial. The theory that Dana White isn't a fan of Sterling, never wanted him as champion, and came up with a plan that led to Aljo ultimately losing his title. Over the years, Aljamain hasn't been shy in voicing his opinions. Whether it's fighter pay, feeling disrespected, or thinking he deserved more of a push, he'll get on an interview and say what he thinks.
One thing, the bonuses have been the same since almost the very beginning. In the new modern day era of MMA, it's been $50,000, and inflation has been inflating since God knows how long, right? So it's only, the only thing I can do is be optimistic that the company will, I don't want to say do the right thing, because it almost sounds like I'm like, I just hope they do right by the fighters, man. That's the best way I could put it.
In some people's eyes, it comes across as just salty that other guys are in the limelight and he's not. And we know that Dana White himself doesn't have a whole bunch of patience when it comes to his fighters complaining. As he always says, if you think you're worth more money, go find someone else that will pay it. Then there was the Merab situation. At one point, Sterling was the champion and Merab was quickly on his way to becoming the #1 contender. As friends and teammates, the two understandably went on record to say they wouldn't fight one another.
Yeah, so the money has to make sense, right? You know what I'm saying? So for you to just tarnish that for 500 grand is like, it might sound a lot to some of the guys who haven't been to the pinnacle of where we've all been, right? But when you've gotten there, you see how fast that money goes, and then you're like, now I got kids, I got this expense, I gotta look out for this, I gotta secure their future. It's gotta make sense. So for us to just go tarnish our relationship now, it's like we looking at each other sideways whenever we see each other. What? And it's like, I don't know how you thinking, he beat me or I beat him, and it's like, you still have that animosity, like, man, I wanna get that one back.
And Dana White hated it.
You know, back in the early days, the camps were so small, you didn't have a lot of different options, so we had a lot of these guys saying, oh, he's my friend, he's my friend. You can still be friends and want what your friend has, you know what I mean? It would be a really bad idea for Merab to go down that path.
Combine this with the fact that Sterling is far from a pay-per-view star, someone very capable of putting on so-called boring performances, and his complaints about the UFC, you can see why the theory of Dana not wanting him as champion came about. But that theory had some real tangible evidence when Sterling claimed the UFC pressured him into accepting a fight that he wasn't ready to take.
I can tell you, you're at your peak. You've looked incredible, and it's just this opportunity for you to take his audience that he has built in and introduce you to them. But instead of using the platform and the increased media coverage, it's almost like you're working against it.
I see your point 100%. I just still feel, like you said, the communication out of the gate was kind of like, it was a little blindsided, you know what I mean? Like, I literally just fought, and Dana made the fight right then and there.
It's no secret that Sean O'Malley is a bigger star than Aljo. Despite the UFC saying they don't care who wins, they're a business after all. So O'Malley being champion would undoubtedly be good for business. And it's that idea that Sterling argues led to Dana White and co-pressuring him into accepting a fight with O'Malley just 3 months after his last title defense.
I accepted the fight solely because it was an opportunity to make a ton of money and to get a break and put both fights back to back and just chase history and do something that's, one, never been done in terms of champions turning around and fighting, making a ton of money in a short amount of time, and then 3, breaking an all-time record again, or should I say setting the bar higher for an all-time record of defenses in bantamweight history.
He claimed they blindsided him, threatened to strip him of the title, and coerced him with the promise of money to accept the fight. Sterling had just gone 5 rounds with Henry Cejudo. He obviously undergoes big weight cuts to fight, yet was having to decide whether to compete again just a few months later. Other champions are able to sit on the sidelines for a year, sometimes even longer, without the fear of the UFC vacating the title. In the end, he ultimately accepted, lost the fight early in the 2nd round, and his title with it. It's a decision he massively regrets.
And then the one with O'Malley, this was a weird one because I just wasn't in the correct headspace, and training with Merab, knowing what we can both do, and then seeing how Merab did him filthy, and then I'm just like, brother, him and I talking, we're just like, bro, you should have killed him. I'm like, brother, I know. It's just mentally, I just wasn't in the right headspace.
And while you can appreciate why he might feel aggrieved, he is quite literally making excuses for his loss. Again, it's his reaction that's salty. He claimed he deserves an immediate rematch, that he'd win easily, and is a better fighter than O'Malley.
I won the 1st round. If I had stayed patient like that, the 5 rounds, it would have been a boring ass fight.
Yeah, I saw you talking about this.
Unless he came forward. And if he came forward, maybe he's the one that gets taken down because he gets over aggressive. I lock his skinny ass up, take him down, and then the fight's the fight. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. It's yin and yang. He's so good at what he does. I'm so good at what I do. And that's what happens when you get to the top of your game. It's a game of inches. And I said it, like, we fought 9 out of 10 times. he probably beats me 1 or 2 out of 10.
After just getting finished, you're not really in the position to be saying things like that without looking bitter. But even to this day, he still holds the same opinion.
If I was on point the way I was with any other fight, that guy was getting squished. And then that's respectfully saying that. I know I'm gonna get heat for saying that. They're like, well, he knocked you out in 2 rounds.
Or if it wasn't the UFC's fault, it was the referees.
If you had stopped it after he punched me one time, I'd be like, okay, that was stupid, but I can understand because you saw me, but you told me to move. And then as I move and I get to all fours, you stop the fight. I'm like, it's a championship fight. It's a big moment.
And after accepting he wasn't going to be offered the rematch, Sterling moved up to featherweight for some new beginnings. But in terms of him being a salty fighter, it's been pretty much the exact same. He was the only fighter at UFC 300 to not get a post-fight interview in the octagon, a sign that the UFC aren't his biggest fan. Then after losing a decision to Movsar, he talked like it didn't even count. It's eerily similar to the excuses made against O'Malley.
They gave me Calvin Kattar, got my feet wet, which was good, and I was kind of like, okay, I can make this work at this weight class, and then suffered a little setback with Movsar, but it wasn't even, I don't know, that fight still kind of rubs me the wrong way because I don't really feel it. Like, it's one thing if you lose and it's like, all right, man, he definitely beat me, but I don't feel like I lost, you know? So it's just one of those, but it lets me know I'm right there still. So if I could beat Brian, get past him, inshallah, then I think good things are coming my way.
Now the featherweight division really feels like it's heating up. There's a bunch of top guys vying for a title shot, up-and-comers getting highlight reel knockouts with new exciting contenders. While Sterling thinks he's next for Volkanovski after a lackluster win against Brian Ortega who couldn't make weight and passed out for 30 minutes during his weight cut. Call it self-entitlement, call it overplaying your hand, but for a fan, Aljo just looks salty. Plain and simple. Now, it's boiled over to his Twitter. Seemingly every day at the moment there's a new Twitter rant from Aljo discrediting everyone else in the division. Whether it's saying he'd whoop Movsar again, yes, the guy he lost to, saying Lerone Murphy hasn't beat anyone or that Diego Lopez isn't on his level.
I think he's a very talented dude. He's well-rounded on the ground. I just don't think he's the full package yet. Can he become champ at some point in this run? I think so, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing. So I'm not shitting on him by any means. I just think I'm better at the end of the day.
And let's just remember, at featherweight, Aljamain Sterling has 2 decision wins and 1 loss. All these other guys are unbeaten prospects, finishing other top 10 guys and adding to their highlight reels. Aljo is hoping his longevity in the sports lets him leapfrog the guys who have been fighting in the division longer than him. In truth, he doesn't deserve the title shot. But this entitled reaction is the culmination of a career where he's been dismissed. As a prospect winning the belt and defending it, Aljo has been met with criticism and controversy at every turn. He's been overlooked most of his career, genuinely pressured into taking a championship fight he wasn't ready for, and doesn't get the recognition he deserves. Aljo has the most consecutive title defenses in bantamweight history, tied for most wins in the division's history, and the second longest win streak at 135 pounds. If you wanted to, you could genuinely make a case for Aljamain Sterling to be the greatest bantamweight fighter of all time. And it's that mix of being great, yet disrespected that makes him maybe the saltiest fighter in the UFC today. Thanks for watching. Go subscribe to the channel if you're still here. We make videos just like this every single week and you don't want to miss them.